Many people have been wondering when the global economic collapse will happen. I've been waiting since 2009, they will say, and yet it hasn't come. So what is it exactly that's making it be the way it is today? That's the topic of today's video, and I want to discuss it here briefly. We've been seeing the stock market rising since March of 2009, and since then there have been a few blips along the way, but for the most part it has been growing. It has been growing quite well historically. In fact, it's one of the longest bull markets in history. So at the same time, you've seen me talking about a global economic collapse. What's the deal? What is this? Well, what we're talking about is a global economy. I'm not talking about the global stock markets. Remember that. It's very important. When you walk down the streets, do you see homeless? Do you see an increasing amount of tent cities? Do you see boarded up windows? Do you see the economy generally moving downward at the same time the stock markets have been moving upward? I just did a video about the pension crisis, and yet here we are today with the stock market rising higher and higher. Something doesn't make sense, something doesn't add up, but we are told everything is just fine simply because of the stock market. And in my opinion, this is a very, very big mistake because we equate stock market with economy, and that is not the case. I don't talk about the global financial calamity in the way that some others do, that we will have a massive deflation that occurs, but it certainly could happen. When I talk about global economic collapse, I'm talking about the economy, the actual economy. Now, you have a lot of people out there buying homes, pushing the prices up into the million-plus category. You have people spending like crazy, buying the new iPhones, buying all these new products. You see the malls are hustling and bustling. You see that people are out and about. So what's happening? Well, the truth is that we are now at the maximum amount of debt that we have ever seen in our lives. Credit cards are completely maxed out. Home equity line of credits, secondary mortgages, even worse, line of credits, and all types of different things that are causing people to spend more and more on things that they simply don't need. So what's going to be the result of this? Well, ultimately at some point, they're going to cause another crash. And remember, I said that intentionally. They're going to cause another crash. We're not talking about all of this business where the natural market forces occur and then you will see the fundamentals start to outweigh all of the central bank monetary policies. No. The central banks will cause a liquidity crisis. Why? Because they want to consolidate wealth and power. How did it happen in 2008? If they had full control back then, the Federal Reserve was there, all of these institutions were there, they caused it intentionally. It's not a function of natural market forces that exist anymore, particularly since 2008, 2009, but ultimately up until today. So we are going to have to pay attention very closely to the amount of liquidity that's in the system. This is the number one driving force. So what we will pay attention to is the central bank, quantitative easing, the central bank, the monetary policies that they have, the interest rates. We need to understand forward guidance. Forward guidance is basically every speech that the Federal Reserve makes. We need to look around the world and see all the other central banks, what they're doing, how they're acting, and understand that this is the number one, the only factor that matters anymore to determine, first of all, where the stock markets go, but also the general economy. Because as we see their policies continue, it's only going to get worse. And that's a fact. That's the global economic collapse. I will still be criticized every single day, every single video. I go back, sometimes I get comments from videos that I've done years ago, and they say, look, you have been saying this for years, and yet you have not been able to predict what's going to happen. I'm talking about the economy. I'm not talking about the stock market. I've said many, many times before, the stock market will continue to rise as long as central banks continue to print. And that's my message for today. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. And last but not least, check out themoneygps.com for a free e-course, for all kinds of free information there, themoneygps.com.